There's a reason why I call him convicted felon Donald Trump. He's a convicted felon. And so when you see these relentless attacks, when you see what's happening with Kilmer Abrego Garcia and the stuff that comes out like on the official White House accounts on social media, your thoughts about whether or not we truly find ourselves in the midst of a constitutional crisis?
Well, Katie, I'm a layperson. I'm not a lawyer by any stretch of the imagination, but personally, I think we've been in a constitutional crisis since in November 2024, 74 million people decided to hand over the keys of power to a man who is an insurrectionist and a traitor to this country. That, for me, was the original constitutional crisis. Essentially, what happened is that Section 3 of the 14th Amendment was rendered completely inoperative. So now I think we have a new constitutional crisis, and in many ways, it is an infinitely more dangerous one because, as you and Joyce and others have said, we are looking at a situation in the United States of America in which nobody, including American citizens who were born here, no longer have habeas rights, no longer have a right to due process. And we are looking at a situation which will lead, of course, to the fact that there is no rule of law in America anymore. And I think we can thank the corrupt, illegitimate supermajority of the Supreme Court for deciding that Donald Trump deserved an imperial presidency.
And I watched the clip of the Declaration of Independence thing on The Daily Show when the studio audience just went bananas with laughter. It was so wonderful to hear because, as we've established, Donald Trump hates to be laughed at.
Yeah.
There was a moment at a rally where he was talking about how he hates to be laughed at. He just hates it and hates it and hates it. It's so disrespectful. And it was one of the very few times that we actually got a real glimpse into the way he thinks. I think that was 100% honest.
Yeah.
That he is
Terry Moran's face was like,
every time people laugh at him. Yeah, it's the Mary Trump story about someone dumping mashed potatoes on his head. He hates to be laughed at. And so when I hear people laughing en masse at Donald Trump, it just makes me happy. It makes me want to laugh along, too. You know?
Yeah, you did you retweeted Kristen Welker. The Fifth Amendment says everyone deserves due process. Trump, it might say that. If you're talking about that, then we'd have to have 1 million or 2 million or 3 million trials. And you said it might say that. It absolutely does. Someone needs to ask him to name 3 amendments in the Bill of Rights. No way he can. He doesn't know anything about anything. Nothing he says makes yesterday, and whenever there's one of those Oval Office things, he said so many things. They were so wildly ridiculous and this is what I keep asking.
And I will revise my question about the amendments in the Bill of Rights, because he'd probably just go, well, I can name 3, 7, 8, and 9. Those are 3. No, I'm talking. What I meant was the content of the amendments, which I'm sure he can't name. I'd like to see one person who's one of these Second Amendment diehards or these Second Amendment fanatics to name what the Third Amendment is. I bet they can't. I bet they cannot name what the Third Amendment to the Constitution is.
Yeah, and you retweeted Steve Bladdock, who said, even if you accept Stephen Miller's textually, historically, and morally indefensible claim that undocumented immigrants are not entitled to due process, you'd still need due process to ensure the individuals at issue are, in fact, undocumented. Right. His argument fails even on its own terms. And you retweeted Judge Ludwig, who said this is a shockingly mistaken understanding of due process by Stephen Miller. It's likely this misunderstanding that is informing the president's misunderstanding. That's why they need to ask the questions, Bob, in these interviews. Do you know you're lying, or did someone lie to you? Because you did not win 9-0 at the Supreme Court. You lost. No one said that to him in any of these interviews, right? This is photoshopped. MS-13 is not written on Garcia's hands. Like, you know, journalism is crazy making. Still.
It's a combination of insanity and manipulation. I think the people around him are manipulating him by giving especially Stephen Miller, giving his analysis of what's going on and claiming that it's absolutely true, and Donald Trump believes every word of it because he's intellectually lazy. He doesn't care about what the actual facts are. He'll just accept what the people around him tell him on top of what he hears on Fox News Channel. He's operating in a complete world of fantasy and fiction, which is one of the reasons why when we see his reactions to these things, we're going, what planet is he even on? because it's a reaction to something that's entirely made up. So the reaction is that like a second layer of fantasy on top of the fantasy. So that's why it all looks so screwy. And then you boil it down to something like due process, which is so explicit right there in the Fifth Amendment. No person. It doesn't say no citizen. It says no person. It's the same with the 14th Amendment applying to due process in the states. It's the same with multiple Supreme Court rulings, including Shaughnessy v. U.S., which also laid it all out.
Let's end on some bouldering. Art said, yo, media, it's time you spend as much breathless energy as you did with Biden to point out Donald Trump's clear cognitive and physical decline. I mean, what did we say? We think his brain is made of tapioca and syphilitic brain worms.
Yes.
Some people pudding, some people have said mashed potatoes.
The brain worms serve as crunch berries.
Right.
Right. Just dry oatmeal or something in there. I don't know what it is. But I think it's that, and he's recently obsessed with little girls and dolls.
Oh,
like
God.
Taking away. And I was talking to
creepy.
Kimberly about this, and and she had an interesting theory about why he's talking about little girls and dolls, because he wants to blame the desire to have a better economy. He wants to blame his economic incompetence on little girls and their insistence on having
grabby little doll-hungry
pencils.
girls.
Yeah.
Okay, can I just say, our friend and hero Mark Hamill hit Trump for a Star Wars Day post, in which the president, we mentioned this, Jody mentioned this yesterday, the May the 4th message posted by the White House shows an extremely buff Trump, which is, his natural state, with a red lightsaber, the color largely used not by the Jedi, such as Luke Skywalker, but by the evil Sith characters like Darth Vader. And Mark just wrote, "Proof this guy is full of Sith." And that is just funny. And I loved your pictures of you with Mark Hamill backstage at LA Sexy Liberal. And you said if I could go back in time and tell my 14-year-old self that my friend and ally would be Mark Hamill. That was so cute, Paul.
Yeah, just that was one of those moments where if you're a Gen X kid who watched Star Wars in 1977, getting to meet Luke Skywalker in person and have him actually know your name is a significant event. And I can't say enough about how wonderful Mark Hamill is, not just as an actor, but as an activist, as someone who's putting himself
as a
out
human
there. And
but Joe, go check out Bob's Instagram. Such cute pictures. Oh, cutest man crush ever. Aw.
We had a nice talk about social media and things like that backstage at LA Sexy Liberal in the before times, before everything went haywire a few days later.
Yeah, you're in that mid-nerdgasm look on your face. So go check out. And you're handsome.
That's the look on my face. It's mid-nerdgasm. That's why I'm just glowing.
Yeah. I glow when I listen to the Bob Seska Show every single week.
Oh, yeah.
SexyLiberal.com.
Excellent. Yes.
Love you, sweetheart.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Love you, Stephanie. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.